Here's how you know TV and movie love isn't real. You never see couples fart. When do you ever see a couple together and one of them just rips it, dude? A healthy love is when somebody farts and both people just start cracking up. I think that's truly the mark of a healthy love. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Something Something with Eric Newman. I'm Eric Newman, here as always at the Comedy Cellar studio above the Olive Tree Cafe in Greenwich Village, Manhattan, the best city in the world. I'm with Zora and I'm with John. We do it every Tuesday at the Comedy Cellar. Today, we will focus on the topic of love. And here's the one thing I will say. Stop romanticizing it. Stop romanticizing love. It's a losing game, man. Listen, when I was really young, I got my heart broken a couple times. And then I got my heart really broken very recently into my 30s. And it hurts a lot. Part of me was mourning the girl, mourning losing the specific girl each time that I lost. But I think in the grand scheme of things, in the much bigger picture, I was really mourning this idea of love that I had in my head and my heart that no longer existed, because every time you get hurt or every time you date someone and it doesn't work out, and for a while you thought that might have been the person and then they turn out to not be the person, you're chipping away at this ideal fantasy of love that you had in your mind. And so that's really what you're mourning. It's way greater than the individual person. It goes way beyond that. It's the concept that is losing its magical luster. Your expectations of what you thought love is and would be is really what hurts you. And you're not to blame for that. I grew up as a huge Dawson's Creek fan. To this day, Dawson's Creek is still my favorite show of all time. Rest in peace, James Vanderbeek. In my childhood, I was watching Dawson's Creek, which really displayed this fantastical, view of love and longing and partnership, and I was watching that at the same time that my parents were screaming at each other in the other room. So it's like you almost get so sucked into this world, this fantastical world, and that's what you really truly fall in love with. And the women that come into your life, or the men that come into your life when you have this mentality, are nothing but a symbol for that, right? They will carry this great love for me that I want, that I long for. It's interesting because you watch all these shows growing up of, this love between two people who will be together at all costs and will do anything to thrive together. And then you get a little older and you start researching the lives of the writers and creators of these shows and songs and movies and scripts and novels. And you realize a lot of them are divorced or have stayed single or 3 times divorced. I read about When Harry Met Sally, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. And Rob Reiner, who's directing it, I don't know if you guys knew this, the original ending was supposed to be, Harry and Sally not ending up together. So, that iconic scene at the end where he comes to run and find her on New Year's Eve didn't exist. The end of the script was Harry and Sally's characters meet up and then sort of just have a conversation, both acknowledging and agreeing that they're not right for one another, and then walking in separate directions. And that was the end of When Harry Met Sally, which, by the way, if it ended that way, I don't even think I'd be talking about it right now. I don't think it would have been popular enough. Rob Reiner himself had gone through a divorce or a serious breakup fairly recently before When Harry Met Sally started filming, and he had this sort of pessimistic view on love. And then he met his wife of, I think, 30 years while filming When Harry Met Sally, and immediately changed the ending. And they shot it, and, it's one of the best romantic comedies of all time. Sometimes life can surprise you like that, and then can channel optimism into your creativity. The not as happy part of the story is that the son they ended up giving birth to ended up killing them years later. Even when he thought he found his love, even when he thought that love could be what it is in the movies, his son ended up killing him. So I think that's the point I'm trying to make. Even when you think against all odds that love actually does exist and that you found it, you can end up giving birth to a kid who you raise and who grows up to murder you. With me, I think I realized that idealistic version of love that I really wanted and cared about more than anything in the world probably doesn't exist. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because I think people who trick themselves into believing that this love, where you meet somebody and you only have eyes for each other and nobody else in the world exists, and everything else goes quiet, and the only thing that matters in the world is just you and that other person, and that is expected to last your entire lives. That expectation creates so much pressure for people in society when they're going through the process of meeting people and trying to date, that it's a losing game. There's no way to feel satisfied. But once you realize and come to terms with the fact that that idealistic version of love probably does not exist in this world, at least in a long-term sustainable way, of just this like undying passion and willingness to overcome anything and raw desire, which is what shows and a lot of media have portrayed love to be. Once you realize that doesn't exist, you're happier. I think a lot of people out there are so miserable dating because they're striving for something that they still believe exists and they just haven't found it yet. And that's not what love is. Once you get older, you realize that love is a practice. It's action. It's daily action. It's what can I give, not what can I take. And I think a lot of times when you're, an impressionable teenager and you're watching these shows and these movies of this like idealistic love, you meet someone and you're so obsessed with feeling the butterflies. You're so obsessed with that like warm blanket of like infatuation that's all over you when you meet this person that you can't even understand. There's no way to articulate it. There's no way to understand why you're feeling it. It's just sort of like a lightning bolt through your body. You're already starting from a bad place because you're putting all the responsibility for your own good feelings on the other person. You're like, oh my God, you gave me this butterfly feeling. Keep giving it to me. I need more of it. I'm addicted to it. Please, by all means, please just keep giving me this dopamine that I crave so much. And it's unfair and unsustainable long term. I think once you become a little more mature and you go through those heartbreaks and you're mourning that old definition of love that you always have and it continues to evolve, you start to enjoy life and you become so much lighter. And it's good. It's not depressing. Like everybody makes it seem like it's like, oh, you get older and then it's like, oh yeah, just old boring practical love. Now we're just gonna like figure out what our shared values are and work really hard to continue to develop and grow together as a couple. Oh, it's work, blah, 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 boring. Like, I feel like that's the impression that a lot of adults have. They go, oh, I missed that time when I was young and there was those butterflies. I never even met the person. I just saw them from across the room and I felt these butterflies. Yeah, you're fucking psychotic, dude. Why would you feel butterflies from a person that you've never met before? You have no idea what they have to offer. You have no idea what the conversation is going to be like. I'm smart enough now to know that when I look at a woman from across the room that I've never seen before and I go, oh my God, that woman, I know it's because I just want to fuck her. I know that. I'm smart enough now, man. I used to look at a woman across the room, judge her by her looks, and say that I wanted to marry her. Now I've downgraded to just wanting to fuck her. I think that's a lot of maturity. I really do. I think I've come a long way because I think once you understand that connection and true love is based off of shared values and a understanding of what each person needs from the other one in order to, feel good in the relationship and knowing how to communicate and knowing all those things that are pivotal in growing a prosperous love with someone, you start understanding that looks, they're a very small part of the equation. And look, it is kind of boring in a way, man, especially growing up on shows where I did, where, like dating apps weren't a thing yet. And it really was just that type of love. You see somebody from across the room, you smile at each other, You say a couple words and you're off and running. That type of love and connection and desire for another person is different than going on the dating apps and categorizing people based on their religion, their height, their socioeconomic status. Back then, you used to just like literally be at a party and like a song would play and you would see a girl standing next to you lip syncing to the same song that you're lip syncing to, and you're like, oh my God, this is love. Like, that's how easy it was back then. The novelists and the songwriters and the screenwriters create characters and situations where there's this idyllic love, because it's a world that feels and sounds a lot better than this one, but it's not this one. And so I think people have to keep that in mind. You're not dating in a TV show. You're dating in this world. When I write scripts, I am going to give the characters the love that I feel they deserve in that world, which is going to be a different love than exists here. And I think that's what I'm talking about. Every heartbreak I've had is just me slowly giving up on the idea that the love I originally wanted exists. And once you get through enough of that, you go like, oh, okay, it's fine. And that doesn't mean that I'm not going to get married and live a really happy life, or you're not going to get married and live a really happy life. It just means that you have a better chance living a happier life if you give up on that dream. What's more depressing? Admitting to yourself that the love that you built up in your head may not exist in reality, or trying desperately to find that love and getting rid of anything that doesn't match up to that for the rest of your life. I think the more depressing option is the latter one. Dating apps are very practical, right? They're, what do you look like? What's your job? What's your religion? And when you're young, you're just like, damn, they're hot, And if you're a girl, you're like, damn, he's got a car. You remember that the first kid who had a car? It was almost like we were all like 5'5" in a world where one man was 6 foot. That's what it felt like, right? We were all 5'5" in a world where one guy was 6 feet. Dude, I don't know, man. I was like a shaggy kid who got so nervous around women. I would sweat so much just trying to talk to them. Like when I would like ask girls out, and I would ask a lot of girls out, but I like was always very nervous about it. And like I was so shocked and so like astounded by those guys who had like Bad Bunny level confidence at like 12. My buddy Kenny in middle school, man, he talked to girls like he just had so much swag. He'd be like, "Listen, baby, if you don't want me, move along." And I'd be like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "Will you please have me? Please, I'll do anything for you to have me." If you're a girl and you're in love with a guy, right? And then you find out he cheats on you, that's like one strike in the column for what you initially thought love could be, right? That's now your experience. You take that with you as a girl. You go, oh my God, my high school boyfriend that I was madly in love with, like fucked my friend. And now all of a sudden, now I have to redefine my definition of love. You're just confused. And if you're a guy and you're, getting to know a girl and you're in love with her, you spend a year talking to her and hanging out with her and nothing physically happens between the two of you. And then right when you're about to make your move, you find out that she's been sleeping with your best friend. Now you have to redefine what your expectation of love is. So all these experiences are important and significant, and also really good to help you understand that love can't be perfect because people can't be perfect. Particularly in the impressionable, youthful years of your life, your heart completely dominates your decision making. And once your heart has been tricked enough times, I think your head comes in and goes, hey, I got it from here. Let me have some say in it. Can I have a vote? Your brain's going, hey, I'm here. You mind if I fucking have a say in what we do? in who we choose to love, and your heart goes, "Yeah, I'll take a step back. I think go ahead, brain. Try to guide me in the right direction." And then that's sort of where maturity comes in, where you realize like, okay, I think shared values might be the way to do it. And that's adult love, and that's great. And it's also, not what can you give me, what feelings can you give me? It's what can I do for you? I'm happy to do this for you because I value you and I care about you and I want you to be happy. Here's how you know TV and movie love isn't real. You never see couples fart. When do you ever see a couple together and one of them just fucking rips it, dude? Seriously. I watched 6 seasons of Dawson's Creek. There almost every cast member dated the other cast member at one point. They had either flings or long-term relationships, and not one time on screen did one of them just let it fucking rip, dude. And that's a lot of what relationships is. And I think a healthy love is when somebody farts and both people just start cracking up. I think that's truly the mark of a healthy, good, strong love. I remember on a second date, my ex, she farted on my lap. And dude, I was like, that's actually how I knew I was like really in love with her, because I thought she was disgusting and I still wanted to see her again. Like it wasn't like, I wasn't actually turned off. I just thought it was cute, like, which is crazy, dude. It's funny, but what's actually interesting, right? The quicker you fart in front of a girl, the less you like her because you don't care. But it's almost the more she likes you because she can sense you don't care. So actually, let it rip, guys. I think it's the best game ever, dude. The more you fart in front of a girl, the better game you have. No, don't actually do that. I actually am against that. I don't like it. But have you ever seen a movie or TV couple fart in front of each other?
Never once.
I can't remember. And the other thing that wasn't realistic is that every time, the like characters were about to have sex, they always got a condom. There's been like full episode storylines dedicated to like, we have to go get condoms. It's like, dude, come on. Seriously, man? Like, that's not happening, dude. I've seen more condoms on TV than I've seen in real life. I think the only places I've really seen consistent condom use is on television. So that's how that's bullshit also. Seriously. Every time one of my favorite characters has sex on a TV show, they, found a condom to use. And every 10th time I've had sex, I have. On one end of the spectrum, you have this love that's like, you look at each other, you don't even say a word, and it's just there. And like, there's this like animalistic, like, I have to make love to this person. And on the other end of the spectrum, like there's like really religious people, right? Like in the Hasidic Jewish community, for example, the rule is that you don't even touch before you get married, right? There's no touching because they say that like even shaking someone's hand can lead to you wanting to hold their hand, and holding their hand can lead to you wanting to hug them, and hugging them can lead to you wanting to kiss their neck, and kissing their neck can lead to sex. So what they do is they kind of just cut it off really early and have no physical contact whatsoever. And I used to always be like, well, how that's stupid because how do you know if you guys are sexually compatible? Like, how do you know the sex is gonna be bad? You marry someone, you gotta test drive a car before you buy it. Like, I can't stand when people say that. It's so fucking trite and cliche. But the other thing is like the initial desire to want to have sex with someone isn't going to last forever anyway, right? Sex is constantly going to evolve. And, if you're in a long-term relationship, no matter how much you guys care about each other, at times it'll get a little stale. At times, you're going to have to work on it, and you're going to have to like throw some new stuff in the bedroom and whatever. So sex itself as a physical act is always going to get a little repetitive. But what you're ensuring when you don't have sex or don't have any physical touch, is that the connection is real and that the values are there for both of you. And there's a deep friendship that's building before any of the physical action is at play. So I actually think in some way, like maybe Hasidic Jews have it right. I think I heard someone said once that most of a relationship is just sitting down and talking. And that's what it is. So if you're able to like sit down and talk, a lot of times sex is used as a distraction for other things that are wrong in the relationship. If you subtract and remove sex as an aspect altogether, I think you can really focus on these other fundamental and core values and stuff. So if you really want to find love, become a Hasidic Jew. Do you remember how like everybody, like a song would come out and people would try to like steal that, like they would actually make it like the song that represented whoever they were hooking up with that summer. I was dating a girl for a little while, and we always listened to that Aerosmith song, I Don't Want to Miss a Thing, from Armageddon. And then my buddy, I told him, I was like, yeah, me and Rebecca, like, that's our song. And my buddy was like, no, that's me and Amanda's song. And I was like, yeah, dude, it's Billboard's #1 song. Like, I don't think it's just ours or yours. I think it's probably belongs to every couple that's involved at that time the song comes out, So I just think like we fantasize, we romanticize, like, and those are important things, and they're important things in terms of the development of like figuring out who you are and what you want. But I think we have to really see love for what it is, like a flawed human concept that can be beautiful, but needs to have work put into it on a consistent basis in order for it to grow into that beautiful thing you're looking for. And it'll never be exactly what you want it to be or what your expectation is of it, but it can be something completely different. And that's what we have to, I think, come to terms with, that love can be almost anything you want it to be, except for undying passion for the rest of your life. It's not going to be that shit. It's never going to be Dawson's Creek. And I also think like romanticizing love is a very privileged thing in today's society, because up until very recently, you were just matched with whoever you were matched with, whoever your parents and their parents thought were good for you and them. So now we kind of have the privilege of saying no, 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 yes, yes, yes. And our parents don't have much say in the Western world. And so that's sort of like, it's almost like the longing is something that's created in order to romanticize it. Like, it's almost like a man-made notion, right? Like, I can't get her, therefore I love her. Look, how many situations have you had in the past where it's like, as a guy specifically, where it's like, I thought I was in love with her and then I got her. I mean, like, what you really had there was longing, which often feels like love. It feels like love, but it's the same concept of just seeing someone across the room and falling in love with them. Like, you're not in love with them, you're in love with something else that has very little to do with them. So a lot of times when I was like chasing a girl, I truly loved the chase. And then like the second I got her, I was like, because it's just adrenaline. You're really just in love with adrenaline. The girl is just merely the symbol of adrenaline. I just think we have to like be honest with ourselves about, what love really is and what can be attained and what can't. Also getting more mature is realizing that there actually is nothing much to be gained in the pursuit of adrenaline. I think that the chase gets old. It's actually pretty depressing when you really truly think you're in love with someone and then you get them and you realize you were just in love with the pursuit of them. That's actually the depressing part. Realizing that you are drawn to something that's so trivial and unrewarding and gives you like a dopamine hit but doesn't provide any real value or meaning in your life. I just don't think it's worth it. I think that's the sign of growing, is realizing all of that shit. So I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Something Something with Eric Newman. As usual, I have John, I have Zoran. We are here live from the Comedy Sellers studio every Tuesday. We'll see you next week. Thanks.